Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of The Jamie Hughes Show. My name as always is Jamie Hughes and welcome to Halloween week day 1, and today I'm going to be giving you my review of Apostle. Now if you want to keep up to date with all the latest movie news and reviews, then make sure you hit that subscribe button, and as always my videos, this review may include spoilers, so you have now been warned. So Apostle does have its flaws, but for the most part this movie is a really unnerving and unsettling experience, and for that I really enjoyed it, and I'll get on to kind of those points in a little bit later on in this review. But the first thing I wanted to talk about is how great and how high caliber the performances were in this movie. They were top notch, everybody brought it. Dan Stevens was great, Michael Sheen was great, and to be honest with you, apart from his other actor, Michael Sheen was going to be my favourite performance in this movie. I thought he just worked so well as the charismatic cult leader Malcolm. He just slipped into that role with ease, and I thought he was really great. But for me, my favourite performance in this movie comes from Mark Lewis-Jones, actually just a lad from about 10 miles down the road from me. That's my little claim to fame for this movie. But his performance as Quinn was just so good, because we got a really great character progression with him as well. He started off as this kind of, you know, slightly overprotective father. He seemed a little bit unhinged, and then as the story kind of goes on, you know, he just turns into this full-on kind of psychopath, just unrelenting, unforgiving killer, and I loved it. I thought his performance was just so, I was just drawn to him in every scene because he was just, again, just so captivating, and there was just so many things going on with his performance. He was kind of maniacal and terrifying, and at the same time a bit of an idiot all at the same time, and it all just kind of culminated together in this wonderful performance. And yeah, I loved every performance in this movie, but definitely Mark Lewis-Jones' performance was by far my favourite in Apostle. Now I mentioned it right at the beginning of this movie, and that is that this movie is very unsettling. It definitely has vibes of kind of The Wicker Man, and for me it got vibes a little bit of The Witch as well. There was just something inherently off about this movie, just kind of the whole feel of this film, not in a bad way. There was just kind of, you knew something was gonna go wrong in this movie and you were just waiting for it to happen, and you just kind of had that sense, as I say, of kind of unnervingness, like you could just feel and you were waiting for something to go wrong. And I really loved that slow building story that we got with these characters, and you were just waiting, and you know, you were getting drip fed little bits of mystery and intrigue around this film. And my next point ties into that quite well, is that what this film does quite well actually is it kind of blends horror genres together quite nicely. So you have kind of supernatural horror that's going on at the same time, and you've kind of got this I don't know how you would describe it, but you know, you've got this cult leader, and it's kind of a little bit like psychological horror going on, and then towards the end of this film it kind of just turns into like a full-on almost slasher flick. And I thought all of those elements couldn't have maybe shouldn't have worked as well as they did, and maybe they, you know, it could have backfired, but I think in this instance it definitely works in Apostle. And I loved, as I say, that blend of genres, and definitely that unnerving feel that you got throughout this movie. And speaking, as I said there, about kind of the old school kind of slasher horror that you do get a little bit in this movie, like this movie is so gory. There is so many kind of just little moments of just over-the-top grotesque gore, but it worked so well. I loved it. Obviously I have to talk about the scene where the kid is kind of, what do they call it, cleansed, I think, and my whole body was just squirming and squealing watching this, because it was horrible, like just listening to like his bones crack. And especially the shot that's kind of stuck with me all day after watching this movie is where he gets the kind of two like bonds on his head, and they turn the crank, and there's a shot where it's kind of like a view of him, it's his viewpoint, and it turns, and then you just see the blood, like, and you hear his skull cracking, and it was just, it was so like bloody disgusting and gory, but I loved it. And yeah, I really did like Apostle. I thought it was, as I say, a really unsettling and unnerving film, but I do have a couple of criticisms about it, because as I said, as I mentioned, I really liked this build that it had going through it, as you were getting drip fed these moments of mystery. But for me, it didn't feel like we got the biggest payoff with this movie. It didn't really feel like we got this big bang with this movie. Like, and I get it, that's kind of fine, but when it felt for so long that we were building up all of this kind of tension and mystery for it all just to kind of fizzle along at the same level, I was just a little bit gutted we didn't get more of like a big impact ending from this film. And again, this is kind of maybe a contradictory point to what I've just mentioned. As I said, it's a slow build, this movie, and for as much as I did enjoy it and enjoy most of the scenes, it does feel like it drags a little bit, and this film may not be for everybody, because I think you've got to be fully invested in this film to enjoy it, because I think having that slow pace may turn people off to this movie, and again, maybe not having that big payoff like we got. Maybe it's not for everybody, this film. As I said, there were definitely points I enjoyed in this movie where we did get that little bit of a slower pace where, you know, it felt like we were building to a payoff, but there were definitely other scenes where not a lot happened to drive that story forward, which was a little bit of a shame. But you know what, this movie is just gory, it's unsettling, and I really liked it. I thought it was just like it just felt like an old school British horror film. As I say, it definitely has influences from films like The Wicker Man, and yeah, I thought it was great. And it was shot in Wales as well, which is really nice. It's like a proper Welsh horror film that's getting a big release with it being on Netflix. So yeah, that is my review of Apostle. If you guys have seen it, then let me know what you thought about it, as always, down in those comments below. And if you did enjoy this video and you want to keep up to date with all the latest movie news and reviews, and keep up to date with the rest of Halloween week, then make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the very next episode of The Jamie Hughes Show. Ta-ra!